the NFL world has been absolutely shaken by what might be the wildest move of the decade. The San Francisco 49ers have reportedly traded Brock Purdy and brought in none other than Kirk Cousins to be their new quarterback. Let that sink in for a second. The same Purdy who just a year ago was being hailed as the ultimate underdog story, the Mr. Irrelevant who became a franchise savior, is now packing his bags. According to early reports, the 49ers front office have been quietly exploring quarterback options for weeks, frustrated by Purdy's recent struggles against elite defenses and his inability to push the ball deep with consistency. The rumor is that Kyle Shanahan, who once coached Cousins back in Washington, has always been a believer in Kirk's precision and maturity under pressure. Apparently, he's convinced that Cousins' experience can finally unlock the full potential of this loaded offense. Fans, though, are divided. Some are calling this a betrayal of everything the team stood for, while others believe it's a championship move that could redefine the NFC race. The ripple effect across the league is immediate and electric, with everyone asking, did San Francisco just mortgage their future, or did they buy themselves a ring? Now here's where things get even more dramatic. Insiders claim this deal didn't happen overnight. Supposedly, discussion started right after the 49ers' last postseason disappointment, when Shanahan and GM John Lynch sat down and analyzed every inch of their offensive playbook. They loved Purdy's heart and poise, but they wanted more arm strength, more experience, and someone who could take command of high-pressure playoff moments. Cousins, who's long been known as one of the most accurate passers in the league, suddenly became the ideal target. When his situation in Minnesota started to look uncertain with his contract expiring, San Francisco saw an opening and pounced. The front office reportedly offered Purdy a second-round pick and future considerations to get the deal done. Sources close to the team say Shanahan sees this as his Matt Ryan 2.0 moment, a veteran QB he can fully trust to execute his intricate system. What's interesting, though, is how fast this news spread through the locker room. Players were reportedly stunned. Some even found out through social media, and one unnamed player described the mood as complete shock. Social media exploded the moment the rumor hit the timeline. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok lit up with reactions from fans, analysts, and even players from around the league. 49ers supporters were split right down the middle, one half furious at losing their young, humble leader, and the other half ecstatic at the idea of pairing Kirk Cousins with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. The memes came flying in within minutes, with fans joking that Shanahan finally got his old Washington crush back. ESPN commentators went live with emergency podcasts, debating whether this was a genius move or an act of desperation. Even Vikings fans seemed torn, some thanking Cousins for his years of service, others excited about the chance to rebuild with a young quarterback like Purdy. Meanwhile, NFL insiders began speculating about how this trade could shift the balance of power in the NFC. Could Cousins finally shed his "can't win the big one" label now that he's surrounded by elite talent? Or will the bright lights of the Bay Area turn the pressure up to an unbearable level? One thing's for sure, this isn't just another trade. It's a storyline that's going to dominate every talk show for weeks. Inside Levi's Stadium, the vibe reportedly feels surreal. Coaches and staff members who spent the past 2 seasons building a culture around Purdy's humility and leadership now have to adjust to a new personality under center. Cousins, for his part, is said to be thrilled about the opportunity. He's walking into one of the most complete rosters in football, with a head coach who's considered an offensive genius. Sources close to him say Kirk feels rejuvenated, excited to prove he can be more than just a stat-padding regular-season quarterback. The big question, though, is chemistry. Can Cousins quickly adapt to Shanahan's demanding system and gain the trust of his new teammates? George Kittle reportedly sent Cousins a welcome text right after the news broke, and McCaffrey posted a cryptic "Let's work" message on Instagram. Shanahan, as usual, hasn't spoken publicly yet, but insiders believe he's confident this move was necessary to reach the next level. The front office wanted stability, leadership, and a quarterback who wouldn't flinch in crunch time. The pressure now shifts entirely to Shanahan and Cousins, because if this doesn't work, it could go down as one of the boldest and most controversial moves in franchise history. What's even more fascinating is how this trade could reshape the entire NFC landscape. Think about it. The 49ers, already one of the most stacked teams in the league, now have a veteran quarterback known for precision passing and discipline. The Eagles, Cowboys, and Lions, all NFC contenders, suddenly have to prepare for a 49ers offense that could be even more dangerous than before. Cousins may not have the mobility or improvisational spark that Purdy brought, but he's a master at reading defenses and exploiting mismatches. Shanahan's play-action system fits him perfectly. Imagine Cousins dropping back, faking to McCaffrey, then launching deep to Ayuk. It's the kind of efficiency this offense has been dreaming about. Analysts are already predicting that San Francisco's Super Bowl odds will skyrocket once the deal becomes official. But not everyone is convinced. Critics argue that Cousins, despite his impressive stats, has consistently fallen short in big moments. If he can't deliver in the playoffs, all of this could blow up spectacularly. Still, there's no denying that this trade changes everything, not just for San Francisco, but for the entire balance of power in the NFL. Behind closed doors, there's also the question of how this affects Brock Purdy's career. For a player who went from being the last pick in the draft to starting in a Super Bowl, this must feel like a gut punch. Yet, sources close to Purdy say he's handling it with his trademark professionalism. Minnesota reportedly sees him as the future, a young quarterback who can develop behind a strong offensive line and a creative coaching staff. For the Vikings, this could be the fresh start they needed, especially after years of coming close but never quite breaking through. Purdy's leadership and composure could breathe new life into that locker room. But make no mistake, this trade wasn't just about talent. It was about timing, ambition, and belief. The 49ers have made it clear they're in win-now mode, willing to risk everything for a shot at glory. Whether that gamble pays off or turns into a cautionary tale will depend on what happens next season. Either way, the NFL just got a brand new storyline, one that's going to fuel endless debate, highlight reels, and hot take for months to come. And just when everyone thought the storm had calmed, more details began to leak, and they're nothing short of explosive. Apparently, the trade talks between San Francisco and Minnesota were far more intense than anyone realized. Insiders say there were late-night phone calls, confidential meetings, and even moments where the deal nearly collapsed. The sticking point? Draft compensation. The Vikings wanted multiple first-round picks for Cousins, while the 49ers insisted Purdy was valuable enough to balance the trade. It took Shanahan himself stepping in to finalize things. Sources say he made a direct call to Cousins, outlining his vision for the offense and reassuring him that he'd be the unquestioned leader of the team. Cousins, who has often felt underappreciated in Minnesota, was reportedly blown away by the confidence. Once he gave a green light, the front offices moved fast. What's wild is how secretive the entire process was. Not even Purdy's camp saw it coming. One agent close to the situation said the young quarterback was stunned but grateful when he got the call. And that's where the emotional layer of this story really begins. Because behind the business side, this is about two quarterbacks whose careers just flipped overnight. Fans in the Bay Area have been buzzing nonstop, with some calling this the biggest risk since the Trey Lance trade. And that's not an exaggeration. The 49ers have a history of bold quarterback moves, but this one feels different. It's not about potential, it's about proven production. Shanahan has always been obsessed with precision and timing. And in Cousins, he gets a quarterback who embodies those qualities. But there's also a certain irony here. The same coach who once passed on bringing Cousins to San Francisco years ago, opting instead for Jimmy Garoppolo, has now come full circle. NFL insiders can't help but note how poetic that feels. Meanwhile, Purdy's exit is stirring heartbreak among fans who saw him as the franchise's emotional core. The Cinderella story that made everyone believe again. People are flooding comment sections with tributes, thanking him for his grit and heart. Yet others are already looking ahead, imagining Cousins dissecting defenses under the Levi Stadium lights. This isn't just a roster move, it's a cultural shift. The team that once thrived on youthful energy is now embracing veteran control, and everyone's watching to see if it works. Over in Minnesota, the atmosphere feels cautiously optimistic. The Vikings fan base, long accustomed to Cousins' steady but limited ceiling, is intrigued by the arrival of Brock Purdy. For them, this trade represents hope, a chance to reimagine their offense with a young quarterback who plays fearlessly. Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota's head coach, is reportedly thrilled. He believes Purdy's mobility and improvisational instincts could bring a new layer of creativity to their playbook. Insiders say the coaching staff plans to tailor the offense around quick reads, play action, and rollout passes, all areas where Purdy excels. There's also buzz about how well Purdy will mesh with Justin Jefferson, who's been craving a more dynamic passing attack. Still, the Vikings front office knows they've taken a gamble of their own. Purdy has limited experience compared to most starters, and there's no guarantee he'll replicate his 49ers success in a new environment. But this is the NFL. Fortune favors the bold. If Purdy thrives in Minnesota, this could go down as one of the most balanced trades in recent memory. If not, both franchises could spend years wondering what might have been. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The national media, of course, can't get enough of the drama. Every sports network is dissecting the trade from every possible angle. Debate shows are already shouting over whether the 49ers just made a genius power move or a catastrophic overreach. Analysts are comparing this deal to past quarterback shakeups like Peyton Manning to Denver or Brett Favre to Minnesota. Some say Cousins' arrival will elevate San Francisco's offensive ceiling to historic levels. Others warn that his conservative style could clash with Shanahan's aggressive play calling in key moments. Meanwhile, players around the league are chiming in on social media. Patrick Mahomes reportedly texted Purdy some words of encouragement, while former 49er Joe Montana told a podcast that he understands the move but feels for the kid. Even the betting markets are going wild. San Francisco's odds to win the Super Bowl have jumped dramatically, while Minnesota's remain a mystery. It's the kind of storyline that keeps the NFL on fire, a mix of shock, excitement, and endless speculation. No matter where you stand, you can't look away from this one. But here's the real question everyone's whispering. Was this truly about winning, or was it about control? Some insiders believe Shanahan has always wanted a quarterback he could completely mold, someone who wouldn't improvise outside of the system. Purdy's rise was organic, unpredictable, and in some ways, uncontrollable. Cousins, on the other hand, is a system purist, a guy who thrives on executing exactly what's drawn up. That makes him the perfect extension of Shanahan's mind on the field. Yet that same quality might also limit creativity when games spiral into chaos. There's a growing debate within the NFL community about whether Shanahan's brilliance sometimes becomes his blind spot, his need for precision over spontaneity. If Cousins delivers a Super Bowl, the narrative shifts entirely. Shanahan becomes the mastermind who finally found his perfect QB. But if things fall apart, he'll be remembered as the coach who traded away the heart of his team for a stat sheet quarterback. Either way, this season will define legacies. And you can bet every camera, every microphone, and every fan will be fixed on San Francisco from week 1 onward. As the dust begins to settle, one thing is absolutely clear. The NFL just got a new rivalry of destiny. Cousins versus Purdy. Shanahan versus his own past. The 49ers versus the ghosts of their recent heartbreaks. Every storyline converges here, setting up what could be one of the most dramatic seasons in recent history. Training camps will be electric, preseason games will be dissected frame by frame, and by the time the regular season kicks off, every throw, every read, every touchdown will carry the weight of this monumental decision. For Purdy, it's the beginning of a redemption arc, a chance to prove he's not just a system quarterback, but a franchise cornerstone. For Cousins, it's perhaps the final chapter, the moment to silence years of doubt and finally capture the glory that's always eluded him. And for the fans? It's pure theater, the kind that reminds us why the NFL isn't just a sport. It's a spectacle, a soap opera, and a dream machine all rolled into one. Buckle up, folks. The Purdy Cousins saga is just getting started. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.